Hey there, today we're going to fix this vape. It's a Bo vape, pretty much the French version of a Juul. It charges, but it does not register when there are pods, and it does not pull any vapor when there are any pods in. So we're gonna go ahead and disassemble it and see what's wrong. So I have basically the end of a screwdriver, and I'm going to insert it into the top, but there are these two pins. We wanna try to avoid those, and you can do that by just pushing it to the edge, and then pushing until everything comes out, and then carefully, there we go. So that is the inside of a vape. Here we can see sort of the electronics board and the battery. The battery is fine, but we're gonna go ahead and remove this top section. Carefully avoiding those pins and pulling it off. Vape juice can get stuck on this area and on the sort of top rubber piece, and that can cause problems. So I got some isopropyl alcohol here, and I got a Q-tip, and we're just gonna go ahead and clean up the rubber piece here, and we're also going to clean this top section carefully around the head. Okay, so now we are all cleaned up. And I'm noticing one thing. So there's two pins here at the top, and this is where the pod connects to. One pin is pretty springy. It has a bounce to it, so that when you insert the pod, it springs and it pushes up. The other pin seems pretty stiff. When I push, it doesn't really bounce back, and it doesn't really have any give. So I'm thinking that there's something stuck or rusted in there. What we're going to do is pull this part out and the battery out, and then we're going to put a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on the back of this board and see if there's anything going on. We're going to try to get underneath here. And then the board sort of slips out like that. Now I'm going to cut these so that I can pull the battery out. There we go. So looking at the back of this. Okay, I don't know if you can see the other side of this lead. Right here, there's a black dot. Could be because there's a little bit of too much heat or burnout or gunk or something is getting in there. So I'm gonna go in with a Q-tip and some isopropyl alcohol and clean that up. You can see that there's some residue on the back of the board, probably vape juice. And I'm gonna go ahead and put more isopropyl alcohol on the head here to try and loosen up that pin. It's got a little bit of spring back to it, and those are looking pretty good. So we're gonna put it back into the plastic housing. Our battery section slipped out, so we're just gonna put that back in. Okay, so one way to test to see if this worked is that if you touch both of these pins with a piece of metal, the light on the front of the Bo vape will turn on. So that's a pretty good sign. So let's put this back on top. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to take a Q-tip and we're going to clean the inside of the tube with more isopropyl alcohol as vape juice builds up in there as well. Alright, well that's all clean now on the inside and looking much better than it was before. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better. And what happens with some of these vapes is that the e-juice kind of can clog up the air intake and cause problems. So we're going to give this some time for the isopropyl alcohol to evaporate before we reassemble. So I've given it some time, everything is dry, and now we're going to feed it back in. Now this side with the LEDs is gonna line up with the LED hole right here, so let's go it in. Make sure everything fits in nice and snug. Okay, good. Throwing it on the charger really quick. It still charges, so that's great. And let's put a pod in. Hey, that's a good sign that there's now connection with the pod. And that's how you fix a vape.